Okay, back in New York.
Back in New York, we play against Joel Benjamin, one of the most talented young players of the United States in that time. And it's very interesting theoretically because we played the Queen's Indian, and White preferred this line with A3 and Knight C3. This is the so-called Petrosian and Kasparov variation for White. And he continued with Knight e4. It was popular in that time between other strong players. Ulf Andersson tried this against myself in London in 1980, and he lost a very beautiful game. Okay, we presented it already, so. Okay, so here is little by little. White has a very small edge, but it's very pleasant for White. You'll see all the game like that. Okay, here instead of e3, there are two alternatives: bishop f4 or knight d2. In a very important game against Anderson, yes. Kasparov played here knight d2 with the idea to play very quickly e4, and he won a very beautiful game. We presented the game also, So this is the alternative. But e3 is the most common move, and it's very easy for White, very little, but okay, very pleasant all the time. Okay, the idea is to trade the bishop and have control of the central squares and the white squares all over the board. If it's enough or not, we'll see. Okay. Queen takes, castle. Board. And now d5, very important. d5, having more space. Therefore, it's important to put the pawn immediately in d5. If you play castle first, then black can play immediately d5 and hope to have an even game somehow, Yeah. Okay, at d5, a5. I mean, he's playing a5 normal, logical, trying to come with the knight through a6 to c5, controlling also some central squares, the counterplay. All right, castle. Knight a6, good. After knight a6, e4, very logical. Everything is very logical until now, e4, knight c5, queen c2, d6, of course, bishop e3, no? Bishop e3. And here, again, a little bit provocative. I mean, White wants to play immediately before now. You see, if White has time, threatens immediately before, and much better, So he tries to stop this by giving you a pawn for some counterplay with a4, a4. Now you can take the pawn in c5 and queen takes a4. It's okay, it's better for White. I mean, not immediately. You can threaten this, So for the moment, he controls the squares. I mean, and he hopes to have some counterplay. Okay, here, White continues to have more space by playing the most normal move, knight d4. Knight d4 wants to come to c6, paralyzing the position, So he plays still the best move, bishop f6, knight there, okay, queen d7. And here, okay, rook d1. Now it's clear. White is threatening. If nothing happens, the threat is very simple. f4 and d5. This is the threat. So he has to react very quickly. And he plays rook e8. Okay, after rook e8, he gives the pawn from a4, hoping to have equality by taking the pawn b2. All right, so I took in c5, and all right, we took the pawn from a4, and he took in d5 first. I took with the c. No, the c pawn is better because otherwise he has control of the e file. If you take with the other pawn,
Yeah.
he can hope to have equality, maybe, So now, all right, bishop takes b2, queen b3. Again, we had many such examples. The pawn a, very dangerous for the moment.
Can be very dangerous.
Yeah, if you have time to push, it's very dangerous. So now, again, move by move. Okay, f4, check, very good. I mean, he gives a pawn for some tactical counterplay, see. So I took, now you have to demonstrate that you have something or maybe enough to try to play for win. f5, excellent move again. Now, if you take in f5 is very little, maybe not, close to nothing, because black has counterplay, If has file and some tactical threats, it's very difficult to do something. Now you have to demonstrate that move by move, you have a strong idea to play for win. Everything is forced because you arrive lately in some very good end game, forced. Yeah. So, okay, e5 now. After e5, he has to take, of course, because if white can push again in e6, it's too late. So now check. And here, it was probably the last moment where he could play a little bit better. Rook f7. It's very difficult to play rook f7 and get pinned himself, like this.
Yeah.
Okay, it seems that king h8 is good enough, but it's not good enough. You'll see. And it's very easy to play for white. Okay.
But why is this one better, the rook f7?
Because he doesn't lose later on immediately in a few moves the pawn from c7.
Okay.
Therefore, is the big difference, you see. But he was very young and, of course, full of ideas, tactical ideas, and so on. I took back my pawn. Now we can continue, and I play king h8 to complicate the game, But
Yes.
now it's completely different, the position, and white can't show that in any end game, he's almost winning by force, you see. So, okay, I took in e5, he has to take, And now very strong move, queen b7. Now, it's very unpleasant because if he gives you another move, if white has time to take in c7, it's too late, immediately.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's forced, rook c8 is forced, And now, the second best move, rook c4. Now it's Zugzwang because he can't take in d6. The rook is hanging, the rook from c8, if he takes in c6. With the pawn he can't take, it has to play rook b5. And now queen c6, again, best move. Now he's forced to take, because with queen on board is even worse for black. There are some mate attacking chances and so on. He can hope now to come to an endgame where by chance he can make a draw somehow, So the idea is to come very quickly with the king to d7. Even if he gives a pawn for the moment, he hopes by taking back the pawn, he can make a draw, But it's move by move again, I told you. a4 is very good. Rook a5, Now white takes the pawn. Now he has no time to take the pawn in a4 because he loses immediately the pawn f5 and then you keep the pawn from c5 and then it's enough to win, Nothing to do.
Yeah.
So he has to play immediately king there now. And now, look, we have the game. Rook f4. We have time, white has time to double the rooks on the C file. For the moment, you don't give back the pawn, and we prepare the king's endgame. The king's endgame wins in any case because of the a pawn, as I told you, So, okay, from here, everything is forced. King there, rook c5, the simplest way. Now he has to trade, because if he goes back to a7, after rook takes f5, he can resign immediately,
Yes.
Yeah? So has to take in c5. Okay, he took in c7, And now white takes in c7, takes, and king f2. The king's endgame is very easy. You win in any case, because the black king is very far, and the white king is here, taking the pawns.
Yes.
Yeah. So simple. The rest is simple, g5, king e3, h5. Now the simplest way, h4, is forced to take in h4, King f4, and okay, the rest, okay, king b6, takes in f5, king a5, king g5, and black resign. Lesson.
Yes.
Positional lesson.
King's ending.
King's endgame, you're completely winning. Well, when you are so young, maybe you don't understand too much. Here he didn't understand too much. Later on, of course, he would play in a different way.
Not to accept this ending.
Yeah, of course, because this endgame is very clear. If you arrive in such an endgame, nothing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Therefore, I tell you, it seems very simple, but it's decisive immediately. Nothing to do.
Good to learn.
Yeah, any endgame is completely winning. You see, because you see, the king is very far away.
Yes.
Even if he plays here, probably the best move is here to play h3. But even with h3, is nothing to do because the king is much too far. You have time to take in h3, take in h5, play king g6, and then you push the h pawn.
And nobody can stop
Anybody
it.
wins,
Yeah.
First category player wins against Carlsen, such a position, because it's nothing to do. Okay, very
True.
simple. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.